Canada has announced a major change in its immigration regulations that will affect foreign students who want to study there. The minimum cost of living, a financial requirement for students, will be raised from the current 10,000 Canadian dollars to 20,635 Canadian dollars from the 1st of January next year. Now, Canada's immigration minister said that this is being done to ensure that students don't face any financial hardship in the country. My colleague Mahas has the details, but before that, listening to what the Canadian minister had to say.
So starting in January 1st of next year, in 2024, the financial requirement for study permits will be raised to reflect the current cost of living. And as such, a single applicant will need to show that they have $20,635 in funds to support themselves in Canada, moving up from $10,000, as I mentioned in French. Moving to a more accurate cost of living level that helps international students arrive with necessary resources to live and study in Canada. Future increases will be tied to the low income cutoff that Statistics Canada publishes every year.
The high cost of living and the housing crisis in Canada is now going to have a direct bearing on the international students who wish to come and study in Canada. This is because the federal government has announced that the expense allowance that the student has to show before obtaining a student's permit will now be raised from 10,000 Canadian dollars to about 20,635 Canadian dollars, which is almost double the amount that is currently something that the student has to show. For an Indian student, this will almost rise from about 6 lakh rupees that they had to show to now about 12 to 13 lakh rupees. This is going to be a one-time affair. The student has to show this amount only once before attaining a student's permit, but this amount virtually gets blocked off. That is because this is put in what is called a GIC account, and this can be accessed by the student only once they are in Canada, and that too a limited amount of money that is given out in installments per month to the student. This is the living expense amount for the student. Apart from this, the housing crisis that had hit the common Canadians here as well, and of course the international students as well last year, because of the massive housing crisis, many students had to take accommodation for an extremely high amount. Now, while some of the provinces have acted against the manner in which some of the house owners were exploiting the situation, there are many provinces that are yet to take any concrete measures. And now the federal government has said that the number of visas per province perhaps could be divided or could be allocated according to the kind of houses or accommodation that will be available for international students as well. So the onus lies on the provincial governments to be able to provide accommodation to the international students.